Okay, so I meant to do a video on this a little while back for the Perses. I kind of started working on it before I got round to doing the video, but I can kind of jump in now and explain the various things that I wanted to, kind of retrospectively. I'm not quite finished with it yet, but one of the main things I wanted to try and try and play with the Perses was the sound of it. I did a Nemesis and a Hero and a Zeus on LiPo before, and anyone that's done this or heard one will know that the sound is scary. I mean, it's kind of frightening. You're holding this thing and you're kind of worried it's going to blow apart or break, because it really screams, the whole thing. You can hear the flywheels inside are screaming, the casework, the plastic is resonating, you can feel the vibrations. And I mean, forget any kind of stealth that you might want to have in a game. If you're using a flywheel rival blaster and it's modded, it screams. So that was one of the things I wanted to play with, was to quieten it down for lots of different reasons, partly for the ones I just said, but also because one of the things I wanted to do perhaps in the future is to add sounds. I know people are doing that. I think it's totally feasible with arduino or whatever kind of boards are available to add sounds to your blaster. But if I want to add some kind of sci-fi sounds to my gun, I have to quieten down the sort of electronic sounds before that makes sense. If the thing is screaming away, whatever sounds I add on top, it's just going to get drowned out. So the first step in that acoustic side of things was to quieten the blaster down. Now there are a couple of different ways that you could do this. So one of the things is, if you get your blaster, you pick it up, it has a particular feel to it, right? It's a plastic toy. It's basically thin bits of ABS plastic, often with multiple different parts. So this is actually 1, 2, 3 parts, just screwed together or pressure fit together, and they vibrate. If there's something inside causing vibrations, those vibrations will transmit, well, the sound will come straight out of the barrel, but it will transmit into the case, and the whole case is vibrating. So the plastic is vibrating, the volume of air inside the blaster is vibrating, it's a cavity that's resonating. And so with all those things, there's stuff in theory that you can do to reduce it. So I'll go through a couple of the things that I am experimenting with. So first thing is people who want to do a similar kind of thing, a similar kind of acoustic thing with vehicles, to change the sound of the doors. So you slam a door and maybe your door sounds kind of clunky and tinny, or the sound of the engine is resonating through the panels, and the sound of the panels themselves can be changed. So if you pick up your blaster and you choose a big section of the case and you hit it, in fact what I'll do, I'll go grab a regular one. So this one doesn't have any of the stuff inside. The sound of plastic would normally, there you go, that's what plastic normally sounds like. Okay, so actually it's a bit unfair because we've got the sound of the spring in the mag, but if we just say the sound of the blaster itself, so that's a combination of things. It's the plastic itself resonating, you can hear the vibrations, well, you can't hear it from where you are, but there's sound coming from here. I'm knocking it here and it's transmitting all the way through, so some of what I'm hearing is coming from here and down here. Even just tapping it here, I can hear sound coming from there. So vibrations are transmitting all the way through this plastic casework. That's the one thing. The other part of it that you can hear, it's a little difficult probably on the mic to differentiate these sounds, but part of this sound is a resonance. The hollow sound, I guess you'd say, and that comes from inside the case. That comes from the fact that this, I mean, here on this blaster, this whole piece is basically hollow. It's just a tube. So looking looking in there, this is just a hollow tube. And any kind of hollow object that's got a solid outside will resonate, you know, or musical instruments are designed on that principle. So with something like the Perses, the two main things that I've done so far, and I will finish doing, are one, to add this deadening material. So this deadening material is what car people use in the panels of their cars. It's a gooey, kind of rubbery material. So it's not just rubber, it's kind of gooey, right? It's got foil backing, standard car stuff, right? I'm not going to explain too much about how this works, but basically it's heavy, it's gooey, so you can stick it into little crevices, and the texture of it's what's called viscoelastic, which means that it's not just a rubber, it's not just a bouncy elastic material, but it's got some give, it's gooey. So as vibrations pass through it, the vibrations don't just transmit perfectly through the material, it kind of gets absorbed. The motion of the vibrations coming in doesn't translate into the same motion coming out of the material, it gets absorbed as the stuff sort of squishes. Okay. So the two things that will do, adding this to the case or the bodywork of a car, makes it heavier. So a heavier object is harder to move, so the vibrations are not going to move the case as much, it won't vibrate as much. And the vibrations that are there get absorbed a little bit because of this viscoelastic, squishy nature of the material. So that I put in as many places as I can. Under the foam here, actually it goes all the way through the stock of the gun. I've put it through here. It's kind of tricky to get it in some places. There are certain places where you can't have it, where there are moving parts. So this is the mag release, the hopper release sort of slide that goes along here. You got to be careful that everything can close up again. So all the way throughout this process, I put a little piece in, put all the internals back in, check that it all still fits, see that everything still moves. Around the flywheels here, so there are certain points that were getting stuck along this bit. I had to remove a whole load of it there, it was getting stuck. But there are some places, like here, that's open space in the blaster, so this has got a couple of layers here, because why not, you know, adds a bit more mass. So that's the rubber stuff. And this is just audio industry type acoustic foam. So like I said, what you end up hearing is this screaming flywheel noise. It starts in the flywheels because there's usually some imbalance in the flywheels, and that causes the vibrations, which goes through the internals, transmits through to the case, goes all the way through the case, and resonates the volume of air that's inside the blaster. So this deals with the vibrations in the casework to some degree, hopefully. The vibration of the volume of air is dealt with by this stuff, or at least that's how I've done it. All this is doing is it's called an open cell foam. It allows vibrating air to move through it. You can blow through this stuff, air moves through it, but as air moves through this stuff, there's a large surface area of these cells, so there's friction. The air moving through it experiences friction with the material, and some of that movement is converted to heat. It gets absorbed, so the sound gets converted to heat in here. So it absorbs sound, basically. This is the stuff they stick on walls of studios, recording studios. So I've got this foam in as many of the open spaces as I can manage. I'm going to have a bit more here. Basically all the open space inside the blaster I'm going to try and fill with this. So I did a test. I did a little test when I got the gun to get some kind of measurement. Of this. Came out at 90 dB. So you can get these various different decibel meters. Probably not the most accurate, but I'll be using the same one for my tests, so hopefully that should give me a comparison rather than an absolute accurate figure. It'll tell me if there's any difference. I got up to 90, So you can tell, yeah, this is interesting, it's getting up to 90 with just me talking. Anyway, with this in my kitchen, being held next to the blaster, it got up to 90. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put everything back together, just with the stock electronics, nothing upgraded yet, to see what difference this stuff in the case, on and inside the case, is going to make.
Alrighty, okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before with the sound pressure level metering. This is all stock electronics, everything is exactly the same, just got the paint job mostly finished on the outside, and all the acoustic stuff on the inside. I haven't changed the flywheels, haven't changed the Sorbothane feet, and haven't done the muzzle, so this is just the internal stuff. So let's see what difference this makes. Okay, so I've tried this in the same kind of environment as I did the first time round. Let's have a listen. Let's have another go. One last time, reset it. Yeah, so we're getting kind of 83, 84, which is a 6 dB reduction, which is pretty good actually. In terms of volume level, that's around about half the volume of before. The one thing, so half the volume only tells you part of the difference. So the other aspect is not just how loud it is, but the quality of the sound. So, like I said before, you know, this is used for car bodywork, car body panels to deaden the sound. And anyone who's got a Perses can do the same kind of thing and go around, and the whole thing now sounds very, very dead. Interestingly, the deadest part is not necessarily the bit with the most of the rubber backing, like we have here. That is pretty dead, but the deadest, I reckon, is at the back, which is where there is the most acoustic foam, which is quite interesting. Yeah, so the acoustic foams worked really well in the stock. Yeah, it's pretty good up here. This volume is noticeably quieter. When I tried it first off, I thought there might be something wrong with the flywheels, like they might be getting stuck, because yeah, normally they really, really scream, and now yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah. Okay, well that's first thing. I am going to try and stuff in a bit more. I've got to open it up again for the electronic side of things. So I'm going to try and fit in a bit more of the absorption foam in different places, a few more bits of painting, and then the electronics. I'll do the same again, do the same test again on 3S, see what that's like, see how crazy that is, and then finally do the flywheels, see what they do.